Hello, I'm Vivienne McGrath from viviennemcgrath.com, and in this video I'm going to be talking about perfect relationships. Is it possible to have one? And what happened to mine? Where did things go awry? First, I'll talk about perfect relationships. It is possible to have a perfect relationship. Well, if not a perfect relationship, then a very healthy adult one. It is possible. But it's only possible if you are a healthy adult within you to start with. We all have three elements within us, and I think this was first identified by a psychiatrist or psychologist in the 1950s called Eric Berne. And he identified that all of us have a parent, adult, and child within us. The child obviously harks back to our childhood and is that childish self within us who is curious, full of wonder and innocence. We have the parent within us that was absorbed through the parental roles that we had when we were a child, be it parents, be it teachers or other parental adult role models in our lives. And then we have the adult that we hope and aspire to become as we grow up. Now, if that child within you is very low in self-esteem, very needy, very insecure, then you are not going to grow up to attract a healthy adult relationship. What you need to do is become the parent you need to be to nurture that child inside you first. Fill inside with an abundant well of self-love and self-worth until you know you are good enough and you deserve a healthy adult relationship. That is the best place to start if you want to attract somebody who is also a healthy adult. Like attracts like. And if you're a needy, insecure child, you might attract someone who is the strict, dominating, controlling, or nurturing parent who wants to rescue you, fix you, look after you, or whatever, or vice versa. If you are the sort of person who wants to naturally goes into that parent role, that rescuing role, that nurturing role, then you're most likely going to attract somebody who is a needy child. Now that is just not a healthy relationship, and it's never going to lead to long-term happiness either. Now, you might be a healthy adult. You might be in a very healthy adult relationship right now. I am so happy for you if you are. But you might have found, like I've had quite a number of people say to me, my relationship was great for a while, but then it started to just veer off track and I can't work out what's happened and I can't bring it back. I don't know what to do to bring that relationship back. Well, I've seen this many, many times. I actually remember one girl who I mentored when she was at the start of her career. Really lovely, beautiful, talented girl. And she started to, I mentored her career, and then she started to ask me about her relationships as well. And she said, your relationship with my husband now is just so effortless. You're so lucky. And I said, well, I am lucky. And yes, on the whole, it is effortless. But I learned the hard way, and I spent many, many, many years in relationships that weren't right for me, culminating in a relationship that was abusive and violent, and I nearly lost my life in that relationship. So I said to her, what I've come to learn is the key to a good relationship is to having a balanced one. one that you are adult to adult. And what I could see was happening with her was she kept choosing partners that she could go into that parental role with. And the more she became that controlling parent, the more her boyfriend was becoming the rebellious child. And the more he rebelled, the more it pushed her into the nagging parent role, and she resented him for that. She didn't want to be that nagging parent, and she wanted a man. You know, she didn't want a child, especially not in the bedroom. You don't want to be intimate if you're the parent in a relationship to a child who's needy or spoiled, rebellious, naughty. You don't want that. You know, you want to be intimate adult to healthy adult. You know, therefore, quite often, so she was attracting the wrong type to start with. But quite often what happens in relationships that have been adult to adult and great for a long time, and then something starts to go awry, communication starts to go wrong, arguments start happening, the sex starts to feel not right and eventually die. What's happening in that relationship is that communication has broken down. Whereas before, you were communicating adult to adult. When communication breaks down is when you're crossing wires and you're suddenly communicating parent to child or child to parent. Relationships do better when you're on the same level. You know, you might be parent to parent when you're both nurturing your children. You might be adult to adult when your relationship is really going brilliantly and smoothly and effortlessly, as I put it. You might be completely ridiculous like my husband and I am on a regular basis, both being the playful, curious, fun, childish child. And by childish, I don't mean needy and insecure. I just mean curious and innocent and tapping into that beautiful child that you once were. And that's fine, because if it's on the same level, your relationship will work okay. But when you cross wires and suddenly one of you, your self-esteem, for whatever reason, you lose a job or something happens that makes your self-esteem take a real hit, you might then go into the needy child, and you might start to get jealous, insecure, and you might look to the other partner to fulfill your needs and to make you feel happy and great about yourself, because you can't, you feel just awful. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, a healthy adult child, also the balance goes like this, where one can be strong for the other at times, and you can reverse so that the other is strong for you at times. And we do that all the time, my husband and I. Sometimes I'm strong and he's a bit weaker. Sometimes I'm weak and he's stronger. And that's okay, so long as we stay in the parameter of adult to adult. But when that balance tips too far and the child becomes needy and draining and looking to you for that happiness and looking to you or blaming you for not making them happy, then that might force the other person into that parental role, that strict, that controlling, that nagging parent that they don't want to become. And that's when your relationship goes off track. You're crossing wires. One of you is becoming the parent, the other to the child. And the more that you become that, the other becomes the opposite role. And it becomes self-fulfilling. It feeds off itself. Now, what do I mean by adult to adult? And this is where I do believe you can get your relationship back on track, and you can get as close as you can to a perfect, healthy relationship. Adult to adult means, what is an adult? To me, an adult, healthy adult, is somebody who finds happiness within first, who has a well of self-love and self-esteem and self-worth. So they don't look to the other person to fulfill their needs. They don't depend on the outside world to make them happy. They are that already. They have self-confidence to know what their boundaries are and can respectfully communicate those boundaries to other people in an assertive, calm way. Not passively, not aggressively, not passive-aggressively. You're not behaving passively, you're not behaving aggressively, or you're not being passive-aggressive. You're being calm and assertive. And you also respect the other person's boundaries, that they need you to treat them with respect and kindness as well, as you expect to be treated yourself. And a healthy adult is somebody who understands that they can live their life to the best that they possibly can live it, but also allow others to live the best to their life, the best life they can live as well. And when you are both ticking all those boxes I've just described, and you come together as two healthy adults who are whole within yourselves, bam, together you are formidable, because the sum of your parts make an amazing partnership and team. So that is what you should aspire to become. And if you keep attracting the wrong type, well, then look at yourself first. Are you a healthy adult first? And if you're not, nurture the child within you first and become the person you want to be, the type of person you want to attract, because like attracts like. Adult attracts adult. And if you are in a healthy relationship and things have gone awry, well, then ask yourself this: have we swapped in to one of those roles, a parent or a child, and are we crossing wires with our communication? If so, the way to get it back on track is first, you strive to get yourself back into that adult role. Come back down from the parent to the adult. Rise up from that needy child back into the secure adult. Because if you do that, the other person will respond in kind. You know, if you're being the adult, they can't keep being the child. If you're being the adult, you won't let them keep dominating you, controlling you as the parent. So lead by example, become the adult, and then they will respond to you. And I've done that myself in our relationship when I recognized that this was what was happening to us once, and it was unbelievable. I thought, well, I will just become the adult, because there was a time when my husband lost his job and he became insecure, and it wasn't like him. He became needy, insecure. He started to really not suffocate me, but demand so much of me, and demand that I become a parent to him. And I didn't like that. I thought, well, where's the man that I love? I don't want to be in this relationship with a child. And that's okay. As I said, the balance can tip, but we had tipped so far that I was become this nagging, controlling, almost bullying parent that I really didn't like. And I started to resent him for almost pushing me into that role. So I thought, rather than look at him and his behavior and resent him for it, I needed to look at myself and realize that my nagging, bullying, controlling behavior was not a healthy adult. And if I was going to be a healthy adult, I was going to do the opposite. Just let him be, but treat him with love, kindness, and respect. And remember, the man I love was still there. He was just having a rough time. And the more I just nurtured our relationship with kindness, with respect, with allowing him to just rise back up to meet me in the middle, the more that he did do that. And then once we were back on an equal playing field, we were able to communicate our needs. And I was able to say, I understand what you're going through is really, really difficult, but, you know, why don't you look to the things that are really knocking your self-confidence and self-esteem? If it's this job, well, throw the job in. I'll support you for a while. Find something else that will enhance your life and bring back your confidence again. And that's what he did. And I was able to say, look, I'm sorry for the behavior that I was causing. You know, I was being bullying. I wasn't being nice. I was being resentful. So I apologize for that. And I will try and behave more as an assertive adult in future. And so communication immediately improved. Our relationship got back on track. So to recap, number one, if you want to attract a perfect health relationship to start with, well then be a healthy adult within yourself first, because like attracts like. Don't go into relationship dating as a parent because you'll only attract a child. Don't go into relationship as a needy child because you will only attract someone who will dominate and control you. Start as you mean to continue as a healthy adult. And if you are, and you are in a relationship that has been great but has gone off track, well then look at what's happened. How you're suddenly crossing wires and communicating parent to child or child to parent, not adult to adult. And start by getting yourself back into that adult space, because then your partner will meet you in the middle and you'll come back together as adults, and your communication will be such that you can then have a healthy adult conversation about where things are going wrong and how you can get it back on track. So I hope that's helpful. It is possible. I'm living proof of that. I have an amazing, beautiful relationship that I would call effortless, but when it's not, we know exactly what we need to do to get it back on track. So yeah, it's pretty close to being a perfect relationship. So thanks so much for joining me. If that's helped you, please click the like button, subscribe and share. And I love all your comments, so keep pouring them in. They come into my inbox every single day. I do read every one of them. I try my best to answer all of them. If I haven't, I will get to you soon. And do give me your suggestions. What would you like me to talk about next? And I look forward to seeing you in that next video. Bye for now.